They were trying to compel people to say he was the greatest. Michael Jordan didn't say that about himself. Kobe Bryant didn't say that about himself. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar didn't say that about himself. Bill Russell didn't say that about himself. Tim Duncan didn't say that about himself. Nobody said that. Nobody.
Some debates refuse to stay buried. You can declare them settled, move on, and within a week, someone drops a 40-point game in their 22nd season, and suddenly the internet is on fire again. The Michael Jordan versus LeBron James conversation has been called dead so many times that at this point, calling it dead is just part of the cycle. It lives on ESPN, it takes over podcasts, it dominates comment sections at 2 a.m, and no matter how many statistical arguments get thrown out, nobody actually agrees. And then there is Stephen A. Smith. No hedging, no diplomatic middle ground. No, they're both great in their own way.
I know, and we all know, I'm putting nobody ahead of Michael Jordan. Nobody. Okay? And I stand on it.
Come on, listen to this.
Because my definition of the GOAT is you at your best against anybody else at that bit.
Stephen A. has a position. He's had it for years, and he defends it with the kind of conviction that turns a sports debate into a courtroom closing argument. His stance is simple, blunt, and unapologetic. Michael Jordan is still the greatest basketball player who has ever lived, and no amount of LeBron James' longevity, mileage, or milestone moments is going to change that. This is his case. The moment that recently reignited this entire conversation was LeBron James dropping 40 points in his 22nd NBA season. At 39 years old, still performing at a level that most players half his age couldn't reach. On the surface, it reads as one of the most jaw-dropping feats in sports history. Pure longevity, a physical marvel, a tribute to everything modern sports science, recovery technology, and elite conditioning can produce. But Stephen A. flipped the entire framing. Because here is the counter. Michael Jordan, at 40 years old, became the first player in NBA history to score 40 points after reaching that age. Not in his prime. Not in his 6th championship run. At 40, on a Washington Wizards team that was nowhere near contention, he went out and dropped 40. That moment wasn't about production over a long career arc. That was a statement. That was defiance. That was Jordan being Jordan even when he had no business being that good anymore. And that distinction, impact versus endurance, is at the core of everything Stephen A. is arguing. LeBron's greatness is undeniable, and Stephen A. doesn't actually deny it. What he refuses to accept is the framing that longevity equals superiority. Jordan's dominance was compressed, explosive, and overwhelming. When Jordan peaked, he didn't gradually accumulate his legacy over 2 decades. He detonated. 6 championships across 2 three-peats, 6 finals appearances, 6 finals MVP awards. And the number that Stephen A. keeps returning to like a hammer to a nail, 0 finals losses. LeBron's legacy requires context. It requires discussing Cleveland in 2007, the 4 straight finals losses in between his titles, the decision to go to Miami, the partnerships with Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh, the journey back to Cleveland, the move to Los Angeles. There's always a next chapter. There's always an explanation that needs to come with the resume. Jordan's record? 6 times he went to the finals. 6 times he won. 6 times he was named the best player on the floor in a championship series. There is no asterisk attached. There is no yes, but. The file closes cleanly every single time. Then there's the era argument, which Stephen A. leans into hard. LeBron James has built his legacy in an offensive explosion era. 3-point attempts are at an all-time high. Hand-checking is illegal. Defensive contact that was routine in the 1990s now draws flagrant foul reviews. The rules of the game have been reshaped in ways that favor offensive production, and LeBron has played the majority of his career inside that system. Jordan operated in a different environment entirely. Physical defenders were legally allowed to mug guards on every drive. Space on the floor was suffocated. Scoring was a fight, not a flow. And yet Jordan still averaged more 40-point games in fewer seasons than LeBron has managed across a career that stretches into its 3rd decade.
I have never seen a greater player than Michael Jordan.
Stephen A.'s read on that. If Jordan was doing that in those conditions, imagine what the numbers look like in today's game. The gap doesn't close. It widens. Stephen A. also takes direct aim at the public relations machinery that surrounds LeBron's legacy. He points out that Jordan never campaigned for the GOAT title. Neither did Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, not Bill Russell, not Tim Duncan, not Kobe Bryant. None of them or their inner circles built a sustained public effort to define their place in history through constant comparison and social media positioning. The argument isn't petty. It's philosophical. Stephen A. believes that when you have to keep making the case, keep pointing to new stats, keep redefining what greatness means. That tells you something. Monuments don't need press releases. When something is truly settled, the room goes quiet. The fact that the LeBron GOAT argument requires constant maintenance is, In his mind, evidence that it hasn't actually been won. Shannon Sharpe pushed back on this during their debate, presenting the obvious counterpoint. If Jordan was as transcendent as everyone claims, why didn't he play into his late 30s and accumulate similar numbers? Why didn't he dominate for 22 seasons? Stephen A's response was surgical. The question isn't why Jordan didn't take LeBron's path. The question is why LeBron needed that path at all. Jordan reached the summit, planted his flag, and walked away while his legacy was still airtight. LeBron has kept climbing because the summit kept moving. That's not criticism. But it's not proof of superiority either. What it proves, according to Stephen A., is that Jordan completed the mission in fewer moves. And this is where the longevity argument turns completely on its head. Most LeBron supporters treat his 22 seasons of elite performance as the ultimate trump card. Stephen A. treats it as a double-edged sword. Yes, it's remarkable. But if LeBron had truly surpassed Jordan, if the debate was genuinely over, we wouldn't be here. The GOAT conversation wouldn't need new statistics every season. It wouldn't require fresh angles and updated definitions. Instead, every time Jordan's legacy looks untouchable, new benchmarks get invented. All-time scoring record, playoff longevity, assists per game for a forward. Each new milestone is framed as the thing that finally settles it. And then Jordan's record still sits there, 6-0, and the conversation starts over. Stephen A. has said it plainly. LeBron James is a top 3 player in the history of
I've
basketball.
also never seen someone for as great for as long as they have been great as LeBron James. From his rookie campaign to his 22nd year in the league. And to be as great as he has been is just undeniable. I mean, facts are facts. Now, don't tell me that LeBron James at his best eclipsed Michael Jordan at his best.
That alone is an extraordinary statement. To even be in that conversation puts a player in territory most professionals never approach. His frustration isn't with LeBron. It's with the insistence that top 3 isn't enough, that the argument needs to keep going until LeBron is placed above everyone else. But the proof isn't there. Not in Stephen A's courtroom. Because the standard he keeps returning to is Jordan's finals record, Jordan's sustained peak dominance, Jordan's ability to destroy the best competition his era had to offer without ever needing a Game 7 on the biggest stage. One legacy feels finished, chiseled, final. The other is still being argued, still being updated, still chasing a benchmark that refuses to move. And as long as that benchmark has a name, Michael Jordan, Stephen A. Smith will be right there to remind everyone exactly where it stands.